Back in studio. It's International Women's Day, and today, all day on the program, we'll be celebrating excellent women, women of excellence here and abroad. And to kick things off, I have with me Dr. Meagan Sylvester. Good morning.
Good morning,
Superwoman.
Lisa. Thank you very much for having me.
We are just going to put up Woman of Excellence under your name, because that is exactly.
Thank you.
You have done your PhD researching calypso and the art and cultural art forms and so on. Society, include the Society for Ethnomusicology, you're a member.
Yes.
We're going to talk about what that is.
Yes, sure.
I want to know what that is. You're a member of the board of TUCO and chair of the Education and Research Committee. You're an executive member of PLOT.
Yes.
You're a member of AFET. Yes. You hold positions on the CSA, that's the Caribbean
Studies Association. Yes,
that's a very important organization.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
You're chair of the Newsletter Committee and co-chair of the Digital New Media Network.
Indeed.
You're a music sociologist. How do you find time to do all of that? The question I get, but I'm throwing it at you this morning.
Compartmentalization.
I say that as well. Tetri. I say that as well.
That's the only way to get it done. The only way. Yeah.
But let's start. What is ethnomusicology?
Well, that is really a focus on looking at the cultural aspect of society, in particular looking at music in particular. Strictly speaking, I've been trained as a sociologist, and so I really have added music onto that. So I really see myself as a music sociologist, focusing on that. The ethnomusicology, of course, would be all of the conferences that I would go to where we would be dealing with issues related to that.
And a music sociologist, how do you use that in the world? How do you apply it?
Right. So strictly speaking, we're looking at issues of sociology in terms of identity, race, class, color, those stratification, those type of issues, and you apply an understanding of music to it. In particular, I look at the lyrics of indigenous musics, in particular, calypso and soca music. In particular, actually, I want to really stress a study that I am involved in, because we're talking about International Women's Day. I recently did a study on gender justice, looking at issues of womanhood and femininity. And I actually would have done some interviews with 10 women in Trinidad and Tobago across various musical genres like calypso, soca, gospelypso, jazz, and jazz fusion, just to name a few, to get a sense from them. How is it that they see gender justice being operationalized or realized in the music industry in Trinidad and Tobago? Issues of femininity, womanhood. How do males within the fraternity, this music fraternity, deal with them, treat with them, whether they are backup singers, whether they are frontline singers, whether they are musicians.
So this goes beyond even equality of remuneration.
Indeed. It's about perception. Okay. All right. It's about role. It's about responsibility. It's about the impact that women are having.
And
actually,
what did you find?
Interestingly, it actually varies, because I actually look at women in the rock music genre as well. What I found is that depending on the nature of the musical genre, so for example, calypso is a male-dominated space. You would find that the women have a lesser role. And so they accept, actually, the woman that the men play that more dominant role.
But even when you look at Calypso Fiesta and you see so many strong females dominating, it's still within the entire genre. Male-dominated, you say?
It's male-dominated, generally speaking. Of course, we have more women coming out. We even have a Calypso tent divas that focuses basically just on women. It's a woman's Calypso tent. But what we find is that women sort of understand their role, and they play the role very wisely, actually. When you speak to them, they understand, okay, when I'm a backup singer, I actually fulfill the mandate, the role that I've been placed here to fulfill. But what really happens is that they understand that they get the opportunity, even though it's a male-dominated space, to shine. So the men actually give them that opportunity to shine from time to time. And it actually was a very positive study in terms of, across the genres, women really shining and getting that prominence.
You said you did rock music. Was there a difference between rock and soca and calypso? Did you notice any difference?
In terms of the responses of the women, all right? In terms of, so for example, I would have been dealing with women who were backup singers, right? In terms of their role and responsibility. How do they really see themselves as a backup? Because some of these singers actually, at times when they are the dominant female, they are the frontline singers. And when they are backup for other performers, so there was that juxtaposition of, how do I see myself? when do I shine? Because the interesting thing is not only male-male or male-female, it was female-female.
Right,
Yeah, so it was
yes.
very interesting in particular.
And how does that transfer into the wider society? Do you find that it permeates and develops or manifests itself in behaviors in the wider society? You know, because they say that some of the things that you see in these cultural spaces are microcosms of the wider society.
But what I find that's interesting is that we've just come from Carnival, yes, the greatest show on earth, and we have this display and this spectacle of women being dominant in this, you know, in the masquerade. And so it's interesting when I juxtapose that to the studies that I did. It's interesting to note that women play a different role as performers in the musical genre as opposed to when they are performing on the stage, on the road, in that particular environment. There's a different role. So we see a difference taking place,
but
actually.
isn't it a bit of people say that women are being objectified in that role, but where is the power in that based on your study?
Based on my study, I think that women assert themselves. They understand the power that they actually have as the lead performer, as the backup singer, providing that support system, and at other times leading the charge in terms of the music and the contribution that they make. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Meagan Sylvester, thank you so much for coming
you for
and
having
sharing.
me.
And this is hot off the press, right?
It is indeed.
It is hot off the
indeed.
press.
Yes.
What's the way forward for you?
Actually, I intend to continue with my publications in terms of making sure that the research is not only conducted, but that it is published so that people have access to getting a sense of what is happening with our music in Trinidad and Tobago.
But I want to thank you again for coming forward.
Thank you very much.
And I know that you're going to rest now because you're like me. We are night owls.
Indeed,
pretending to be early morning people.
Indeed.
So go get some rest.
Thank you very much for having me.
Happy International Women's Day.
Same to you, Lisa. Same to you.
And right